For over a decade, positional play has been the foundation of the modern game, the structure that dictated how teams attacked, defended, and ultimately controlled matches. But now, that structure is starting to crumble. And if you've been watching closely, you've felt it. Matches feel faster, more chaotic, less predictable. Teams that once suffocated opponents with control now look vulnerable.
Hinshaw to his left, Jorginho hits Hinshaw.
While others, more direct, more aggressive, are suddenly thriving. And even the architects of this era, the managers who built their identities on positional play, are starting to adapt.
Modern football is not, positional and being there. You have to rise the rhythm unbelievable. It could not.
So what's actually happening here? Why is the game shifting so dramatically? To answer that, we need to go backwards. Because football doesn't evolve in a straight line. It moves in cycles, a constant loop of innovation and reaction. Every dominant idea eventually creates the conditions for its own downfall. And if we go back to the late 1980s, we'll see how one man's innovation paved the way for modern football tactics as we know them now. At the time, Catenaccio dominated European football. This means that most defensive structures were man-oriented. A libero swept behind the lines and players followed opponents across the pitch. On paper, it sounds disciplined, but in reality, it was chaotic. Because man-marking creates fragmentation. Once a single player is dragged out of position, the entire structure begins to distort. Lines break. Distances stretch. Gaps appear unpredictably. Defending was reactive, not controlled, and teams had no collective reference point. Managers needed some stable structure on which to base their defense. Something definite. And that's where this man comes into play. His name is Arrigo Sacchi, and by blending ideas from South America with ideas from Europe, Sacchi introduced something truly radical. Something that would change the very way we see football today. A system based not on players, but on space. Did you know that millions of people lose money daily while shopping online? That's why smarter shoppers use Coupert. It's a free browser extension that is designed to help shoppers save money online in 3 ways. First, Coupert automatically finds and applies the best coupons from over 200,000 merchants globally while you shop. Boom! Instant savings. But it gets better. Coupert also gives cash back at over 76,000 stores. That means stores like Temu, Macy's, Sephora, and more can literally pay you back for shopping. Most cashback platforms make you wait forever, but Coupert processes rewards in around 3 to 15 days, and you can withdraw through PayPal, gift cards, or bank card. Then there's my favorite part, price comparison. While browsing products, Coupert checks if the same item is cheaper somewhere else. So before you overpay, it shows you better options in real time. That means coupons plus cashback plus lower prices all stacked together. Over 9 million users already use Coupert to save money online. Honestly, if you're shopping without it, you're probably paying too much. Hit the link below, install Coupert, and start saving on every order today. And thanks to Coupert for sponsoring this video. Sacchi started by doing something that was unthinkable in Italy at the time. He removed the libero role entirely. Instead, he ordered his team to play with a flat back 4 and strict horizontal alignment. Vertical distances between the lines rarely exceeded 25 to 30 meters, and the lines moved in constant synchronization. But the real innovation wasn't just zonal marking. It was collective movement triggers. Suddenly, pressing was no longer random. It was coordinated. The defensive line stepped up together. The midfield contracted space in unison, and the forwards initiated a united press up front. And this created a phenomenon football had never seen before. A team that moved as a single organism. Almost instantly, passing lanes disappeared and time on the ball vanished. Opponents weren't just defended against, they were suffocated. And the result? Total control without possession. Using this system, Sacchi won the Serie A title in his debut season, and then dominated European football by winning back-to-back European Cups in 1989 and 1990. In fact, this system was so successful that within years, zonal defending became the global standard. But this created a new problem. Because once space is controlled defensively, it has to be manipulated offensively. You see, Sacchi's idea was to control space defensively. Pep asked, well, what if we could control space offensively? And nothing exemplifies this more than the 3-2-5. For years, this was the standard template for modern attacks. All these teams morphed into a variation of this formation at some point over the past 5 years. And why not? This formation turned football into a science. It created clear protocols on which to attack. The wingers hugged the touchline, which pinned the fullbacks in place. This created gaps between the defenders, allowing attackers to occupy these half spaces. And who is responsible for marking the player in the half spaces? Is it the fullbacks, the center backs, or the midfielders? For years, zonal defenses struggled to answer this very question. To make matters worse, the false nine at any given point could drop deep to link play or become the third man in a sequence of passes. Do defenders follow him deep, creating space in the backline, or do you allow him to roam and give the opposition access to the free man? See, this is the epitome of positional play, ensuring players occupy zones where they cannot be easily marked without breaking structure. And for years, this system was unstoppable because it created chaos for the opposition while simultaneously eliminating it for the attacking team. But here's the thing about control. It invites resistance. If positional play thrives on space between the lines, then the logical defensive adjustment is simple. Remove the lines. Make it as difficult as possible to access the players within the block. And this is where we began seeing a resurgence of ultra-deep defensive blocks. Teams began collapsing vertically. The distance between the defense and midfield shrank. The space between midfield and attack disappeared. Everything became compact. Teams were happy to concede possession here in order to maximize defensive stability here. And for years, this was a common sight in football. The attacking teams forcing the opposition back into their own half. Circulating possession, waiting for the right moment, the right pass to appear, the right gap to open. And it worked. Why wouldn't it? If you're spending more time in the opposition's half, then statistically, you are far more likely to score a goal. At the same time, if the opposition is spending less time in your half, then statistically, they are far less likely to score. It was a win-win scenario. But then came the next disruption. Teams did not take too kindly to being dominated by the possession-based approach. Now, instead of retreating, a lot of defensive teams have become more aggressive and man-oriented. Now, every pass is contested, every receiver is pressured, every action is rushed, and this fundamentally breaks positional play's rhythm. Because positional play relies on time to scan, stability of structure, and predictable patterns. Man-to-man pressing removes all three. So, whereas before teams like City or a Chelsea would have time and space to play out from these areas, now with teams being more proactive and pushing up higher, it becomes difficult to play out from the back and establish control. This means that the space that used to be available here has now shifted to these areas. And that completely changes the task for modern build-up, because before it used to be about forcing teams slowly backwards. But now it's about playing more directly into these spaces that have opened out deeper in the field. Suddenly, the objective is no longer to control every phase, it's to destabilize quickly, because against man-to-man systems, the entire structure hinges on individual duels. Win one duel, and the system collapses. The positional play era came with a host of new roles for players. Wingers were expected to hug the byline, fullbacks became inverted fullbacks. The 10s evolved into more complete midfielders, but no player felt the brunt of this shift than the number 9. No longer was it enough to just score goals. The 9 became a facilitator, dropping deep, linking play, creating overloads. And it's not that Pep had invented the false 9 role, but after the Messi experiment, the die was cast. It spread like a wildfire. In a few years, almost all top teams had a false 9 or 2. And as for the true 9s, the message was clear as day: evolve or perish. But football has a way of self-correcting, and in this modern era of physicality and directness, who better to have than a striker who can do this? The striker that can hold off multiple players at once. The athlete who wins physical duels and finishes quickly under pressure. The spaces are there to be exploited. There is no doubt about that. This is why we're seeing a resurgence of target profiles, not instead of technical players, but alongside them. This evolution is still unfolding, and like every cycle before it, it won't last forever. Because somewhere, right now, another idea is forming. Another system is being built. Another coach is preparing to break everything we think we understand about the game. And when that happens, the cycle begins again.